But no problem.
Oh, you have a meeting.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
no problem. Okay. Your life.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining in from. My name is Maureen Osumakide, also known as Primo, and permit me to say Happy International Women's Day to every one of us. I mean, every woman on this call. We truly apologize for starting late, technical issues, and I also was running late from a previous meeting. So please, apologies. But I think it's a good time now to send out messages to your friends, to other babes, to other women. We're about to start. We're about to go live. We are live already. The conversation is about to start. I mean, accelerate action. That's what we're talking about this year, International Women's Day. Please, it's a good time to share these things. Let's get the ball rolling. I'd love to see our comments in the comment section. Let me see that you can see me, you can hear me, and you are doubly excited to be a part of this. I think in the same vein also, if you can put in the comment section what you are expecting from this conversation that is about to, start in another few minutes. It would really be nice to know what your thoughts are, what you're looking forward to, what you hope to, achieve, what you hope to take away from this meeting. I am excited. I am excited. And possibly also tag any woman either
From
on the
this
call or not
conversation
on the
that is
call,
about to,
or someone that we know to know. Dolapo, please, can you mute? Thank you. Someone that we know, that has been of great influence in our lives. It's a good time now to tag that person. Tag that person, give a shout out to the person on YouTube, on the comment section, in the comment section, sorry. You know, let us know what you feel, what you think about that woman or that person. How has that lady influenced your life? In what way has the person been a blessing to you? I mean, it's a good time to give a shout out, whether the person is on the call or not. Happy International Women's Day. Accelerate action. I mean, it's so amazing when I, found out that the theme for this year's International Women's Day is accelerate action. I was like, wow. And, I said wow because the theme for the year for us in Babes Redefined is uh the Lord said to us, greater works. So coming to read accelerate action, I'm like, wow. It's like saying double up, double up, double up, double up. It can't be business as usual. And that's what we've been saying to ourselves, to our leaders in Babes Redefined. I mean, this year's Frame Your Year took that kind of dimension where we began to explore God's mind for us this year. And one of the key things, key takeaway from our meetings since the beginning of the year is the fact that it is not business as usual. It's not business as usual. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. And so when you see the thing accelerate action, it's like trying to say, press the accelerator, put your legs on the accelerator. It's not a time to break. This is not a time to pause. It's a time to, in all they are getting, get wisdom. I mean, this is a time to explore all the possibilities. And I dare say this, that regardless of what economy you found yourself in, there's a whole lot that, of opportunities out there. Sometimes all you need is eyes that see. Sometimes all you need is that hear. Sometimes what you need is the right connection. Sometimes what you need is the right conversation with the right person in the right place at the right time. Trust me, when we read the stories of people who made it in life or who are making, impact in other people's life or impact in their life, in their businesses, when you sit down with them and have honest conversations, they will tell you, They didn't really have to do anything so big. It was either, you know, a cumulative count of little efforts here and there, that a day of opportunity just came and they were able to key into it. And that's what this conversation is going to be all about. And one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about different areas. We're going to be looking at finance, we're going to be looking at academia, we're going to be looking at business, we're going to be looking at, you know, career. We're going to be looking at how, as women, we can accelerate our action. And when I say accelerate action, don't begin to think that, oh, we're going to start talking about big, big courses with big, big money. We're going to be, no, it's those little, little things like your CV writing. One or two things you will drop into your CV that will make all the difference. It's just that one decision you would make financially this year, a financial goal, you know, a career goal, and you know, expounding your mind when it comes to the area of research and having, and these things are at our fingertips. We've got access to these things. You don't even have to pay money for them sometimes. Trust me. So we are going to dive right in because we've actually spent a lot of time, you know, trying to get our technical bits together. But we're going to dive right in. And I tell you that we've got seasoned people. I'm going to read out their profile as they join me, you know, in this conversation. And we've got some questions lined up already. Peradventure, as we go on in the conversation, if you have a question, you can probably drop it to the chat group. We've got our admin guys on the YouTube comment section, and they're going to harvest your questions and send them to me. Once again, this is Maureen Oshuma Kinde, also known as PMO, and by the grace of God, I am the president, Babes Redefine International. And of course, this is a Babes Redefine initiative in celebration of the International Women's Day, because we believe that every woman is unique, uniquely created, uniquely fashioned. We've got something to offer. There is not one person on earth that was born without something to offer. We all have something to offer. We have something to give beyond being a wife, beyond being a mother, beyond being a sister. We're firstly a woman. And as God created you, trust me, you've got a whole lot to contribute to the world. And so it's a panel session, and we're going to be talking about different areas, like I said, career, finance, and of course, we'll be looking at the academia as well. Um, and the goal here is to equip women, you know, to advance their skill. Like I said, don't be too don't put your mind so high to think that you'll come and start talking about one big course now that I don't have money for. No, let your mind be open to receive. It might just be one thing someone would say, and you know, that would, you know, just change the whole dynamics. So I'm going to go right on and I'm going to start introducing our guest. Amazing. I mean, Babes Redefined is full of wonderful women, talented women, women that I'm so proud to be, you know, a part of, women that I'm so proud to work with, women that I'm so proud, you know, to do life with and to do this BR business with. And they're going to join me as I call them. I'm going to call first Dr. Damilola Ibigbami. Dr. Damilola is a doctor of animal science, and she's a lecturer in the Animal Production and Health Department at the College of Animal Science and Livestock Production, FUNAB. She's driven by a passion for learning and success. She aims to excel as a prominent figure in the field of animal science. I mean, for someone to have a PhD in that, you can be sure that she aims to she aims to, you know, to fly high with a focus on non-conventional feeding ingredients. I love that. For poultry and non-ruminant animals. Her research has significantly, you know, contributed to research to the realm of animal production with over 23 publications. Did you hear that? 23 publications in reputable local and international outlets. Dr. Ibigbami is not only a researcher, but she's also a mentor to numerous students. Those of you who know her know that she's a born mentor, a natural coach. You know, she's an alumni of the Faith School. You know, Dr. Ibigbami, as an entrepreneur, exhibits a diverse personality marked by ambition, kindness, impact, and encouragement. She's the member of the advisory board. She's involved in NGOs and ministries dedicated to several causes. Beyond her academic and entrepreneurial pursuits, she finds joy in teaching, cooking, continuous learning, and impacting knowledge to the next generation. She's happily married and they are blessed with amazing children. So, welcome with me, Dr. Dami Ibigami. Thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you. And right about now, I'm also going to call
Thank
on
you, Julie.
Hannah. You're welcome. Hannah, July, and me. So we're going to have all our panelists on the call, and we're going to take the questions, as we go. Hannah July is an experienced business analyst, implementation analyst. I love that. Hannah studied applied business computing degree at the University of Sutherland. She has worked in sectors such as the health, retail, and customer service domains. He's also a teacher, an IT trainer, and a trained public speaker. She is an appointed trust governor at her local primary school. I love that, where she helps in managing the policy, staffing, and supporting teachers. Hannah is the campus coordinator for the UK and Europe campus. She ensures the vision and purpose of organizations are achieved by ensuring all programs help women to grow both physically, spiritually, and thriving in their career. She's a firm believer in God's word, a mother of amazing two children, and who enjoys traveling. I know that about her, and meeting new people. Please receive with me Hannah Jola Yemi, and we are doubly excited to have her with us as part of the panelists. And of course, last but not the least, is our very own Dr. Oluwadolapo Conte. She's a seasoned banking professional with 16 years of experience in relationship management. It's amazing how a vet doctor, he studied vet medicine now, if I'm right, he became a banker. Relationship management, financial advisory, and portfolio management. She holds a DVM degree and is a CFA, FCCA, and CPA. You can interpret that, as you understand it. I don't understand it, but those in the finance realm definitely understand all of this. Dr. Conte has worked with top banks, including Access Bank, First Bank, and JP Morgan Chase Canada, where she's currently Vice President, Relationship Management Payments in the Corporate and Investment Banking Division. I have no doubt that she's excelling here because this is her natural niche, when it comes to relationship management and all of that. She's got awards and recognitions, Best in Banking and Finance, ACCA Achievement Award, First Bank Innovation Award, Canadian Investment Fund Honors Roll, JP Morgan Chase and Co-President Circle Award. She has volunteered in several areas in leadership roles, Global Head, Workforce, Babes Redefined Nation. She's currently our head of workforce. She's a mentor in Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program and a founder, Settlement Hub. In her personal life, she's happily married to Dr. Conte. She's got 3 beautiful children. She enjoys traveling as well, reading and swimming. So someone loves cooking, someone loves swimming, but I think 3 of them love traveling. So yeah, they love to tour the world, see the world beyond their current scope, and explore. And I'm truly honored to be in the midst of all of you. Thank you so much for obliging us and celebrating your International Women's Day with us here in Babes Redefined. And we are looking forward to delving in and gleaning from your years of experience. We don't just read people's profile just to, put it out there that, oh, they are doing this, they are doing that. No, we read people's profiles so that we understand their years of experience and the fact that they're going to be speaking from a place of knowledge, not just, by name. So the answers they're going to be giving us, would definitely, help us in moving forward. So you're all welcome. And once again, Accelerate Action, International Women's Day. And I'm going to start, with my first question with Dolapo. Dolapo is going to be looking at the finance area. Um, Hannah is going to be looking at the career. And of course, Dami is going to be looking a bit of career and some sort of academia as well. So for Dolapo, my first question, many women hesitate to invest. And I decided to choose money first because that's the cocoa. That's the cocoa, especially with the economic downtown and so many things happening now. People want to invest, people want to do things, and all of that. And it's always good to know how. Women they hesitate to invest due to fear of losing money. In your experience, what mindset shifts are necessary for women to confidently navigate financial risk while building a strong investment portfolio? Because even in the bank, on your bank app here in the UK, or when they say give you investment options, they tell you you might not get back what you invested. That alone step is enough to make you feel like, let me just hold my money. But I know that
Yeah.
beyond just keeping your money there, investing your money is a better way of multiplying your money. So please take the floor.
Hmm. So I'd like to start by saying that, in life, to actually reach financial freedom, you must be ready to go outside the social norms. You must be ready to, in order to achieve, consistent wealth, you must be ready to defy basic social norms. I understand that. I acknowledge the fact that many women are actually, afraid of losing money. Many women hesitate to actually invest due to the fear of losing money. While I totally understand, this concern, I just like to share that there needs to be a mindset shift. And the reason is because, financial risk itself is actually a component of investment. It's essential to recognize and acknowledge that investing would always involve, some level of risk. There is no way you would, want to invest and get returns without undertaking some level of risk. In fact, in finance, risk is actually a factor of return. Risk is a factor of investment. There's no way you will expect to get wealth without undertaking some level of risk. And in life, generally, we have to take risk. If you do not take risk, if you want to
Yeah,
remain in your comfort zone, you're not going to grow.
yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
growth and comfort does not coexist. So we need to have that
Mm,
mindset, shift first to understand that to actually make anything out of life, you need to leave
mm,
your comfort zone. And that's
mm,
the same perspective when it comes to investment. And
mm.
so for me, I would say the mindset shift, requires you taking informed decisions.
That's
That
right.
means you're not just going into investments just like everyone does. There's the ed mentality. People would always want to invest in things that other people are investing in without actually
Mm,
looking at, their own circumstances, which is completely
mm,
different from the other person. So you
mm.
need to first embark on financial education, have a basic knowledge of finance before you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
think of investing. And you also need to develop a long-term perspective. If you want to get into the get rich quick schemes, you're going to lose your money. That is a recipe for
Hmm.
actually losing money.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to reframe risk as an opportunity for growth. In your mind, look at risk as not something bad, because risk could be negative and positive. You have positive upside risk, and then you have the downside risk. The upside risk is that you invest your money and you get positive returns. The downside risk is you invest your money and you may lose your principal. But you need to make sure that you're getting the right education and you're taking cognizance of the fact that the risk could actually be an opportunity if you are, taking well-informed risk. So by setting clear financial goals, diversifying your portfolio, and continuous learning, you become very much confident of your investment decision as time goes on.
I love that. I love that. I love that you said financial education,
Yeah,
and possibly is one of the things that we look at in the near future, for women, because financial literacy is very key. Sometimes we feel like when you say financial literacy, it's for those that are earning big, big money. It's those that have plenty money that need an advisor. No, even with your 100K a month,
absolutely.
financial literacy, because like Jesus also said, whoever is faithful in little will be faithful in much. So
Yeah,
until you are faithful in the little you're given and you've trained yourself, then you are able to provide that level of faithfulness when the big money comes. So it's not
yep,
when you start earning 1 million pounds a month that you now need a financial advisor. So it's probably something that we will look into, Dolapo, in the near future, where we have a session on
absolutely.
financial literacy. What are the basic things that people need to know, and
Hmm.
understand, in managing their finances, generally. And I
Yeah,
love that you said in life we take risk. There's no growth without risk. So I think that's a major mind shift that we need to have, if we really want to make any change in this world. I don't know. So I want to say at this point that if the other speakers want to chip in one or two things in like 30 seconds, 1 minute to what somebody else has said, even though the question is not directed at you, please, it's okay. You can just raise your hand and then we will just give you, the platform to do that. But thank you so much for answering that, Lapo. That is such, you know, a brilliant one in terms of. So I'll ask you another question, then I'll go to Babes Dami. In many parts
Yep.
of the world, this is still to you, Dolapo, women face
Yep.
systemic barriers to financial independence.
Mm,
How can women in different economic classes, whether high income earners, I think I just mentioned that now, or those with limited resources, begin wealth building through investment?
mm,
How? I know that because of the economic situation we found ourselves around the world, before
yep.
the money even lands, it's finished. And sometimes
Yeah.
really these things, I know that there's always that conversation around, the money you do to do as be, the money you use, sometimes that's not the
Mm,
situation with some women.
yeah.
Genuinely, this
Yeah.
money has gone
Yeah.
into other things that are genuine, school fees, children's school, after school care, this and that. And it's not ashwebi, it's not party, it's not going for
Mm-hmm.
parties. So
Mm-hmm.
how can women with their 50,000 a month, how can they even begin to, build wealth,
Yeah.
begin wealth building through investments?
Yeah, I will start by, talking about the uniqueness of women in terms of, the systemic barriers they face to achieving financial independence. Studies have actually shown that, women are actually less likely to invest. In fact, women are less likely to invest in the stock
Mm,
market than men are. And a recent
wow.
study found out that 47% of women actually invest in the stock market as against 62% of men. So you can imagine the
Wow.
disparity. And it also shows that women tend to have lower financial literacy levels than men, in the sense that only 22% of women felt confident in their ability to make investment decisions, right?
Mm,
Um, Compared to 40% of the men. And
mm,
when you talk about systemic barriers, there are many causes of that. It's part of it is limited access to financial education, and then lower incomes. Women tend to have, just like you mentioned, when you were talking, women tend to have lower incomes. They tend to earn lower incomes than men, making it harder for them to invest. And there's
wow.
also the fact that women have more caregiving responsibilities. They actually bear the brunt. They bear the
Mm,
burden of
yeah.
caregiving much more than men do. And then lastly, I would say the societal expectations. Women are actually, facing societal expectations in the sense of the society expects them to prioritize family as well as caregiving responsibility at the expense of their financial, goals, right? So that is, those are the major issues when you talk about women not being able to invest as much
Invest.
as their fellow men will do. But I would like to say here that regardless of your economy class, whether you are earning low or you're earning high, there are actually several investment options for you. And
Mm,
it's very important that, and it takes us back to what we've said before. It's very important that you seek financial knowledge, you seek financial
yeah.
education, you make use of the resources that are actually available to you. For those
Mm,
with limited resources, you can actually consider micro investing apps. There are a lot of apps right now. I'm not sure, the way it works in Nigeria, but I know that a lot of, money investment firms are coming up with such apps where you can actually make little by little investment, because investment is not actually waiting until you have, just like Pimo had said, waiting until you have so much money. It's actually the
mm,
consistency at the end of the day, making your
mm,
money to work for you over several months, over several weeks,
yeah.
over several years, that actually works at the end of the day. So you have micro
Yeah.
investment apps, you have collective investment schemes, just like your agile that you think about. And I want to say something at this point, that
Yeah.
before you actually think of getting into investments, you must save. If you do not have good savings available, you cannot actually be putting your money to work for you. And the
Right.
first step to actually investment is having a savings buffer of at least 6 months of your expenses. When I say 6 months of your
Wow.
expenses, it means that at any point in time, you should have in liquid form 6 months of expense, because anything can happen, and you lose your
Yeah.
job and you have to leave. You have to survive, right? So your living
Mm.
expenses, let's say your living expenses is like, let me just assume in terms of naira, like 100,000 naira every month. You should have in savings 600,000 naira at any point in time. So if you've not built the savings buffer,
Wow.
that is actually the first step to ensure that you have the
Wow.
savings buffer available in liquid form. So when I say liquid form, it should not be tied to, housing,
Yeah.
fixed assets
To
where you
anything.
cannot,
Mm.
yeah, where you cannot access. That's what you call emergency funds. So you should be able to have that available before you even start, to talk about any investments you want to do. And the key, lastly, is actually to start where you have. Start with what you have. Don't be
Mm. I love
afraid
that.
of actually seeking professional advice or joining online communities or learning from others. There are lots of information out there on finance, I tell you, starting from books,
Mm.
books like Richest Man in Babylon, starting books like Your Money or Your Life, just learning basics of finance. How do you set money aside? Because no matter how little you earn, you can actually set something aside
That's right.
periodically to make sure that you are saving, you are putting something in savings. And you can
That's
also
right.
make sure that, you have this consistency to it, because if
Yeah.
you're not consistent about, I
Yeah.
know that you have a lot of um conflicting priorities, right? As women, we have lots of conflicting priorities. Let me just give an example before I conclude on that. I remember clearly, when I always say this story, when there was one program when I was in First Bank, when I was back home. There was one program that, came up. They call it management, advanced management program, First Bank management program, and all of that. And it was for middle level, middle level officers,
Executives.
to,
Hmm.
yes, to get on a program for 2 years, and eventually at the end of the 2 years, if you're successful, it's like an out of work program, like an academic program sort of. And part of the requirements was you having, an additional certification besides your degree. I remember then
Mm.
someone, getting into the program and someone reaching out to me to say, me and that person, we were actually together in the previous bank before I joined First Bank. And she reached out to me and she was like, oh, how are you able to save so much money and do all of these certifications, and, eventually get into this program? And I remember clearly this particular person and is one person that will use designer bags, carry all the designer anything has to be designer that she's wearing. The truth is that she was wondering, because we earn the same salaries, we earn the same income, we have like similar situations in terms of family
Mm.
situation as well. And she was wondering, how were you able to get so much money to do all of this certification? But the truth
Mm.
is that, it takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
Savings, investing takes a lot of discipline. And one thing you should know is that you cannot take advantage of even opportunities to increase your wealth if you're not saving. I'm going to say that
Mm.
again. You cannot take advantage, because opportunities actually require you putting, money
Money aside.
out
Yeah.
there, money aside. So if you are waiting for one day for opportunity to come, and then the opportunity
Mm.
comes and you're not able to take advantage of it simply because you have not put money aside, to
Mm.
help you to take advantage of that opportunity, then you're doing yourself a lot of harm, because you're not growing your wealth, you're not on any journey of financial independence in any way. So I'll just end there, so that we can, have other
Wow.
people contribute and take
That
others.
is so profound. Thank you so much, Dolapo, for that. I mean, a few things stood out for me. And, when you said women are less likely to invest, it's just the truth. And that's, you talked about societal expectation. You talked about, more caregiving expectations, but those things should not limit us. And that's why we have to be intentional and we have to be disciplined and consistent. Those are the things that jumped out and the things that you said. And I love that you made that general rule. You can't think about investing if you're not saving. So before we start talking about investing, you need to start saving, and you need to start saving from the little that you have, it has to become a habit. It has to become a culture with you, So don't wait until you are earning big money until when, because the bukatas will not reduce. That's just the honest truth. Just the example you gave, you chose to save your money to do certifications that are paying off for you today rather than buy bags. Not like it's wrong to buy bags, but I'm sure you had one or two good bags, please. Not like, so it wasn't like maybe you were hoarding and you were not buying anything, but you prioritized what was important to you. It's so amazing because one of the banks I bank with here, beginning of this year, started something as little as £1 a day saving. And it told you how much you would have saved at the end of the year. It's £1, just £1 a day. In fact, was it £1 or 50p if I can't remember. It was really so low that they would just be taking it from your account. But by the time they calculated how much you would have saved by December 31st, it was a whole lot. I jumped on it, even though yes, it's not big money, but just wanted to see what it felt like. Like, okay, let me be setting this money aside on this side, and all of that. So thank you so much for that. And I love that it says start from where you are. We cannot overemphasize that. You don't wait until that big breakthrough to be able to say you're going to start investing. She has said it, the first step in investing is saving.
Looks like we've lost Pimo for a while.
I was just going to
Give us
say,
some
yeah,
time.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So join us back. Thank you so much, our viewers. Keep engaging. Keep putting out what strikes you most in the comment section. As we wait for Pimo to join us back on this ride. And happy International Women's Day to us all. All right, we have Pimo back.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Please go
The
ahead,
network
Pimo.
threw me out. It's me that the network
Yeah.
is not now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see myself on the screen, so it's okay. Yeah.
Can you see yourself
All
now?
right, that's fine.
We can see you. Yeah.
No, I can't.
All right, can't see.
Okay. Can you see yourself now,
Okay,
Pimo?
yes, I can.
Good.
Yes, I can.
Good.
Yeah, so I was asking Hannah, I said, many women struggle with imposter syndrome and bias in foreign job markets. How can women in the diaspora establish authority, demand fair working conditions, and rise to leadership in unfamiliar work environments?
Okay.
Over to you, Hannah.
Yeah, thank
This
you
is
very much.
particularly to women in diaspora.
In diaspora, yeah. Thank you very much, Bimo. Thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to join and celebrate the International Women's Day. So to your question, dealing with imposter syndrome, I think it's a normal feeling when you come into an environment that it's not your usual, because we're always very comfortable to where we know and where you've always been. And then leaving the shores of, let's say, for example, you've left Nigeria to come into the UK or to the US. So it's a different terrain. And sometimes you need to acknowledge that feeling. So when you feel that way that, oh my God, I don't think I'm good enough. Am I supposed to be here? Even though you're successful at the job interview, you're already in there, so it's a feeling that you need to acknowledge it. So don't try and put it away. So the first thing is that understand what the imposter syndrome is common. And a lot of women do feel that for jobs they've just started, or maybe they've upskilled and is a little bit different from what they've been doing. So it's normal to feel that way.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a new terrain. So it's a feeling, but it's not a fact. So that's one thing you need to. So a feeling is different from a fact. The fact that you're feeling that way doesn't mean that's what
true.
it is.
That's
so
true.
you acknowledge that. So that's the first thing. And then what do you do with that? You focus on your achievement. I think we've had several programs where we talked about this, that there are things you bring to the table. So you're unique in yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to reflect on your skills, remind yourself that you worked hard to get here. And so you sit at the table with everybody else. I've had experiences where, I've done interview and I've gone into the job. My first day at job, it was more like I was being interviewed again in the job, and you'd be wondering, are you supposed to do this? So, but then I didn't take it personal.
Mm.
I'm going to do it. So it's that confidence as well you've got to have in yourself. So you need to have mentorship. I think it's also important. I think we've always said that when you get into any environment, any career or profession, have people who have gone ahead of you. There are people who have actually been doing the job way before yourself. So when I came into business analysis about 5 years ago, even though I've been a trainer, an IT trainer for several years within the NHS, but I'd always had people. I mean, I have like 5 people I can count on my fingers. If there was anything I needed or anything I didn't understand or some work challenges, I would just give them a call. I can have conversation, I can express myself, and they understand because you see, most of these challenges we are saying, people have experienced the same thing. If you don't talk, it feels like you're the only one in this world experiencing some biases at work or some confrontation. So what you need to do is seek mentorship and support. Also shift your mindset. I think what's also important is to frame your challenges as opportunity for growth. So rather than coming to a workplace to be like, okay, I'm a particular color of my skin, maybe that's why they don't like me. Don't come in that, with that sense. Come into, I've seen opportunities and I'm going to grow in this opportunity. I'm not going to come into, oh, maybe I'm the only, the color of my skin is going to be about, no. Come with the right mindset and use that opportunity for growth. And the learning experience as well is very important. Always take it on board. Sometimes you're going to be criticized, and don't take it personal. I think sometimes more often than not, women of color, when we're in a place, a new environment, we feel that we're being challenged, maybe, and it's not that. It's just the fact that, let me look at this. Is there any way for me to get better at what I do? And when you're giving positive feedback, sometimes, whether from your manager, you're able to take it on board and you're able to do better. And also build your own network of support. And I've just said that. So demand fair working conditions. There are times that some of our women have found themselves in workplaces that they don't even know their rights. So when you're in diaspora, you need to know what your right is, whatever professional environment you're in. Always make sure, if you don't know, go on UK Gov website. For instance, in the UK, you need to find out the Citizen Advice Bureau. There are places where you are able to ask, even if it's on the internet, you're able to find out exactly in your profession, what are your rights. And if you need to join unions, so if you're into healthcare, there are several professions that they have union. I always say to our people, always make sure you join unions. In case anything happens, you are able to find that support. So that's also a support system. People are able to advise you, whether in legal terms, if there's anything, whether it's facing discrimination or whatever, you are able to get that support. And sometimes this membership or these unions always take maybe a little as £5, £10 a month as a membership. Again, some people will say, why should I pay that amount? Those are your support system when you need it. You might not have issues at work for the next 1 year or 2 years. It could just be your third year that you just have something, right? But at least you're not going to be joining at that point. You already have a support system. And what I always say also is familiarize yourself with the laws. Again, knowing your rights, the workplace right, documents, if you're feeling any way or there's any issues happening. I think one thing with, when you come abroad in diaspora is that make sure you document. They're very, in this part of the world, you don't just say something verbally. Make sure you put it into writing. So that's a legal, if anything happens, you are able to back up date and time and when an event happened, what was being said. So that's something in this, part of the world, we, kind of in your professional work, you need to be very good at doing, because it will save you a whole lot. But else again, if you encounter any unfair treatment, which is again sometimes often than not women in diaspora, you come into a new workplace, it's so very easy to get unfair treatment. So that's why I said, if you know your rights, you can easily be able to judge whether this is an unfair treatment or whether somebody is just being funny, or whether you can be able to, so you don't take something. And because I know, I don't want to say here, people feel like, oh, everything is about racism. Sometimes it's not that. So it's being able to clearly articulate yourself, even expressing yourself politely. It could be a colleague, it could be a manager, but when you have a support system, they're able to give you a good advice on how to go about things, and it will really save you a whole lot. I hope that answers it.
Oh no, that was profound. I mean, that was so profound. For someone like me, I didn't do anything project management back in Nigeria, but coming here, it was something I had to learn more like from the scratch. And one of the things that helped me also was I didn't initially from the beginning start with the high role.
So,
You know, there's a way you can package your CV and then you go for the high role.
yes.
And I'm telling myself, I'm different as per UK, even in project management, though I have some bit of experience, informal experience,
Yes.
but I wanted to understand, the environment I found myself in, understand navigating within that space. And so I didn't go for the high roles. I
Yes.
started with the role that I could build myself up in. And I
Yeah.
think I want to say for those in
Mm,
diaspora, just like you
mm,
rightly said,
mhm,
honestly, there are no, we're not disadvantaged.
mhm,
We shouldn't feel disadvantaged because of the color of our skin. The
mhm,
most important thing, like you said, is information, understand the terrain you found yourself in. Like in the UK, you know that experience rates
mm.
higher than your university degree. In
That's
terms
it.
of once they see that you have experience and you can defend your experience,
That's
they
right.
they tend to, you find people at your workplace who don't even have a university certificate, who didn't go
That's
to a
correct.
university, but they rose through the rank, following
Yes.
that pattern of coming into career and into business. So
That's right.
understand the environment you found yourself in and find
Mm,
where you fit in and how
mm,
you fit in. Information is powerful. I really love that you said, find out what is said about your kind of job in your government
mm,
website.
mm,
Find out, read
mm,
those policies in
mm.
your organization. Take time to read it. They are not things you browse through.
Mm,
Understand what rights you have.
mm,
Understand the access that you have. And take advantage.
mm,
Most of people who work in organizations in diaspora, and
mm.
I'm sure in Nigeria as well, they've got a system of continuous learning. So you
That's right.
have platforms where there are training materials that are online that you don't have to pay for because you're already a part of that organization.
That's
Take
right.
advantage of those things.
Mm,
Learn, go on those online trainings, slot it into your calendar, your schedule, and give yourself 30 minutes, 1 hour a day within your schedule to learn more about the job that you found yourself in. And I know that there's also this area. Maybe you want to
mm.
say something about that too,
Okay.
Hannah. Where I
Yes.
take, for example, someone was working as a bank manager in
Yes.
Nigeria and then
Mm,
comes to the UK. Of course, in
mm.
the UK, you can't just come and say, I'm a bank manager, give me bank manager role without UK work experience,
That's
and
correct.
possibly have to start as a
Mm.
bank clerk or a
Yes.
customer service rep. How do
Advisor.
they manage that
Mhm.
change? Because
Yeah.
it's very important, particularly for our
Mhm.
mental health, because you can feel
Yes.
like, and if you don't really embrace that this is a process, you won't
Yes.
give in your best in that job and you won't see
That's
the
right.
opportunities that are there.
Absolutely. And you're very right. And thank you for mentioning that, Pimo. And I've seen it often again, a lot of babes that have come in and friends that I know, people have come in a very high earning role back in Nigeria and they come into the UK, for example. And I know it's particularly challenging for women because it can be demoralizing. So when you've seen yourself, even men, so it's not even specific to a gender, even likewise men as well, it's even more demoralizing for them because they are the provider of their
Yeah,
home, but they now
yeah,
found themselves abroad. They are not going to have, they've applied for this job, let's say into the tech
yeah.
environment, and they are applying CV, you put in CVs, doing interviews, and you are getting this, unfortunately, is demoralizing. Some people could apply for 99 application. I've known somebody 100
Yeah,
application
yeah,
and they are not getting. And what I say to our people
yeah,
is, I said, see, when I came, even though I came into college as young as 18, 19, I had to do all the odd jobs even after the degree, even still being in UK, I still did not get into the career that I wanted to get to, but I had to start
wow,
at the bottom. So I think the humility to be able to take on roles that are not necessarily what you were doing. I think that's the thing about UK because they are very big on experience. Don't look
yeah,
down on those quote unquote the jobs you feel that they are below you. What you don't realize is that those skills you're starting to gain, that's your work experience. So as for instance,
yeah,
when I
that's
got
so
into
true.
the National Health Service, I started as the ward clerk. Ward clerk is the one of the lowest band in the NHS. NHS is as far as band 8, so we're looking at band 2,
Yeah,
right?
wow,
So to someone with a degree, you're saying, why should I do a band 2? But if I tell you now that the jobs I'm getting, I'm contracting, is based on the experience I've done almost 5, 6, 7 years ago.
yeah,
I'm talking
that's so
about
true.
10 years in the National Health Service. So the thing is, you never know. So people at the time when I was doing that, why would you be earning how many pounds per hour? that's too whatever. But what they don't realize is that what I was doing was setting myself in that place and position so that I could. And what the interesting about the work environment also is there are internal job roles. So what happens is that once you get a role, you can apply internally for another higher band, so you can move up even within the space of a year. So that was what I did. From a band 2, move on to band 4, move on to band 6. I left the national service. I went into the private sector. So, and what you are doing during those process is accumulating your skills, your experience. So what you're not going to be in a position where you are now earning better. So when I look at what I used to earn almost 6-7 years ago, and now it's a huge, but then it's a journey. You didn't start. So if I waited to want to get a business analyst role or something, an IT role, because I just came out of uni and bam, I want to earn the salary, I will wait for a long time. So that's what I want to also challenge our women. When you come in, it's okay. Don't put aside what your skills are. But if you have anything you can do, whether it's into IT, you could do admin roles. That's the very basic customer service role. What you're going to be doing is your communication skills, a lot of things you're learning, the work culture. Those things are going to help you on your way into progressing into that role. And again, whilst you're doing those jobs, you can still be doing some certification, make sure you're having mentoring. So all of that together, and then positioning yourself for that right job and interviewing as well. So it's one thing to be good at something. Another thing with this environment, you've got to be able to defend what you have, your skill and your experience is. So you can have 10 people on a job interview, and trust me, everybody's put their CV in the best, they've dotted their I's and the T's. So you want to come in and say that, you know what, I have this experience and I can do this job. However, you need to have done that background work before getting into that space.
Getting into that. Wow, so profound. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Dolapo, you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much, Babes and Ajay. I think you've, touched on everything I would, even like to say. But I just like to put, the Canadian perspective as well. It's very similar to what goes on in the UK. I like to start with the workplace. Like you get into the workplace and then you have this imposter syndrome. You're feeling that, I'm not supposed to be at the table. These people kind of am I really supposed to be on this role and all of that? The truth is that you actually deserve a right to be at that table. And what you need to be telling yourself is remembering all your accomplishments over the years and what you've been able to do. And the fact that if you've been able to do all of that, then you will be able to do well in this role. And that takes you to also getting to understand what that role is all about. What is success on that role? What does success mean on that role? And acquiring all those skills, it's not by coming in with a superior, by trying to let everyone know that you are better than they are. You need to learn the workplace culture. You need humility, and that's where humility comes into play, right? You need to understand how they do things here. How they do things here is completely different from the way things are done back home. So you need to have an understanding of that. And that also goes to anyone that is also looking to settle in all of these countries, in UK, in Canada. Give yourself some grace. These guys have been here. They were born here. They've been here for years.
So true.
They went to school here. And you want to come one day and then get onto the top, the very top job. Oga, you need to settle down and give yourself. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, I got into a senior executive role. Yes, so many people did. And yes, you can. But first, you need to give yourself some grace. And you need to stop the competition. It's not about, this person gets this person gets. It's not how, it's not how soon you get it. There's always a process for everyone, and be ready to go through that process. Ready to go through the process of integration. A lot of us just come into a new place. We don't learn the culture. We don't integrate with the people. We still look for our fellow Nigerians, our fellow Africans, and those are the people we are networking with. How do you want to get a job if you are not meeting the people that will interview you at the end of the day and will determine that you get placed in those jobs? You need to do the right networking. If you have to volunteer, go ahead and do that and that also comes to the fact that don't come to these countries without having some source of survival income. I would say if you don't have at least 6 months income, do not come. There's no need to come and suffer. There's no need to come and put yourself through that kind of unnecessary stress. Have something that you can survive on for at least 6 months while you're doing all of this search and all, doing. And if you don't, what it means is that you need to do survival jobs. You do not have a choice because you must survive here. You must pay the bills. And if you must pay the bills, you have to do like some jobs, that are not related to what you're doing. And you need to be humble doing this. And just like Babes and Ajay said, you gather the work experience. And what they're always asking for, they're not wrong asking for, you must have Canadian work experience, you must have UK work experience. And a lot of those resumes, a lot of those job, adverts are actually skewed towards the kind of experience you should have. They're asking for specific tools, the tools that you don't use in Nigeria. Those tools are used in maybe the North America, they're used in the UK. So you already know that there is an implicit work experience that you should have. So you can get all of this by networking, by volunteering, by meeting those people that matter and making sure that you're integrating in your new place. And give yourself some grace. It takes time. Thank you.
Yeah. QED, give yourself some grace. It takes time. I think that's a quote from this conversation. Give yourself some time. It actually takes grace. Thank you so much, Hannah J, for that brilliant comment and summation. And of course, Dolapo's addition, giving us the Canadian view. It's interesting that both Canadian and the UK view, share almost the same views, and it's just really brilliant. Let me quickly go to Dr. Dami, and then I'll come back to Hannah Jade, and I'll come to Dolapo. So, Dr. Dami, many see academia as a noble profession. I love this question, rather than a path to wealth, because we grew up knowing that our teachers were not rich. We did not think that our teachers, in fact, if we find a teacher that built a house, you'll be asking, where did you get the money from? Because we didn't always think that people in academia were rich. So there's a question here that many see academia as a noble profession rather than a path to wealth. How can women in academia build financial independence while making an impact in education and research? So is there money there? Is there gold in academia? Are you making money? Let us know. Your season, your volume is season, or is it from my end?
I think it's breaking, yeah.
It's breaking. Let me use my other device.
It seems like we can hear, but it's a bit low. We can increase the volume.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wow, it's still low.
It's still low. Okay. Honestly, I just use this laptop for work. I don't know.
When you move closer, it's actually better. When you move closer, it's better.
You can just raise your voice a bit. We can actually hear you.
Yeah.
How about now?
Okay.
How about now?
Okay. Yeah.
Is it better now?
A bit.
Oh, can I change my?
Okay. Do you want to change your device?
Let me switch to the other one. Is on. Just for me to unmute on the other end. Just permit me.
Okay.
How about now?
If you can. Yeah, if you can bring her in on the other device.
Okay, I think I'm having some kind of feedback.
Yeah, if you can mute the one you're on now.
So you can stop the video on the one you're on now.
Okay, I'll actually have to mute one. I think I'm using this as video.
Okay, while we wait for that, because of time, let me quickly go again to.
Is that okay?
Okay, is she on now?
Yes.
No, she's still hanging. Hannah J.
Yes.
Some women migrate for better career
Is this
opportunities,
okay?
but later feel disconnected from their home country's economy. How can diaspora women maintain a global career while also contributing to economic growth back home? Is the question clear?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Yeah. I think it's important for women to keep that connection going. So let's say, for instance, you've left Nigeria to the UK. There are some career that you can do in any part of the world. And sometimes it's keeping yourself up to date as what's going on. For instance, I might not even, if I decide maybe I want to go back to Nigeria and settle or maybe do business analysis or anything, the terrain is different again because the way things will
Yeah.
work is different. So I think
Yeah.
keeping yourself up to date professionally, I think there are different professional bodies for different countries as well,
Yeah.
where sometimes you have to be a member and just make sure you're up to date to what's going on. And sometimes also economically, you need to know what's happening in the environment. So let's say, for instance, Nigeria, even there's some things that is not related to my career that I always like to keep myself up to date. So I watch TVC news.
Oh,
I make
wow.
sure that, so sometimes, I like the women panel when they always have discussion about things. It might not be directly
Yeah.
related professionally, but it kind of keeps me aware of what's going on,
Right.
and so you don't want to be totally disconnected because you are not present. Who knows? Anything can take any of us back
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to our home country. So what you want to do is that you want to make sure that you're relevant wherever you find yourself. And what I've
Yourself.
always told myself is whatever I'm doing now, is there anything I can add to it? Let's say something takes me out of the UK. Can I survive somewhere else? So if I'm not career
Good
minded,
question.
am I able
Yeah.
to provide a service from all the years of experience that I have? When COVID happens, I think that was a shifting as well. That, some people now, they've seemed to forget that something changed,
Yeah.
in the
So true.
landscape. Yeah, for all over the world, whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're in the UK or the US, something changed. So some people had to change profession because they
Yeah.
realized that the career or the version they're in could not sustain them any longer, right?
Yeah.
So they had to shift. I've seen people go into healthcare during the COVID period. So what
Yeah.
I'm myself is where I am right now. In case anything happens, we're not praying for COVID to happen again or anything like that. But should I find myself in another country, am I still able to be financially, economically
Mm.
empowered? So what I'm thinking is that whatever I'm doing now, can I add to it? Can I provide
Yeah.
service? So on the long term, I'm thinking, on the short term, I'm thinking. So again, like I said, you've got to be connected, to your home country because
Yeah.
that's where we're still from. Who knows? Our children can
Yeah.
decide to go back
Yeah.
tomorrow. How do we help
Yeah.
them as well? Because if you're disconnected from your own country, you don't know what's going on economically, financial, you don't even know, how do you help, and support them? So
Yeah.
for me, I'm still very 100% Nigeria. I said, who knows? I might end up deciding my retirement. So again, you've got to also think that we're going to go old. And yes, you might have your pension pot, saving up here. Who knows whether you don't want to stay here? So if you're still in Nigeria, your money can still be transferred. You can still be collecting your money and still be doing something, financially in Nigeria or another part of the world. So that's a question I always say to myself, make sure you're connected. Don't disconnect yourself just because you are not in that country. Make sure that anything, whether it's financial landscape, economically, just make sure that you're up to date. Keep your friendship, keep your network. Don't bomb
Yeah.
people. Don't say because you
Yeah.
are or family members or stuff. Still try to maintain. And if you can go home, again, it's something else to listen to news and hear that. It's another thing to go home and
Yeah.
also see what is happening. Being
Yeah.
present, understand, these things are changing,
Yeah.
in the home country as well. Thank you.
Profound. Don't be an innate person and forget your we they come, we they go. Don't be don't be
Yeah.
so lost. I think it's just a mindset thing where, and maybe also experiential. Some people have really had it terrible, and they just see leaving Nigeria or leaving their African country or wherever it is they left for where they are, as a breath of fresh air, and they just don't want anything to remind them of that place. But I think that people need to have a change of mind. I totally agree with what you said. You never really know. Take, for example, what's going on in America today, and Trump asking immigrants to go back to where they came from. Like, honestly, we never thought such things will happen in this age and time. You never know. things change, policies change, a lot of things change. And so it's just important that you're not an island. It's not important that you put all your eggs in one basket. It's just good that you're well connected and well grounded. And if you grew up and were raised in a country, then I don't think it was a coincidence that that happened in your life. That means that a huge part of your life, like for me, the first 40 plus years of my life was spent in Nigeria. I'm not going to now trade that for the 4 or 5 years I've spent here and feel like, I'm better off without Nigeria. Like you said, I'm partially biased towards Nigeria anyway. So anytime, any day, I'm a Niger babe for life, no matter what it is. I tell people even here, I don't plan to retire here. I'm sorry. I've seen their old people and I don't want to retire here. I would rather go back to, Nigeria and I'll possibly be a citizen of the world, and just ensure that you've got footprints everywhere, in your own little way that you can. Dolapo, your hands are up, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Babes Energy. That was profound. I think that there's a question on I don't know if Pimo, if you want us to take that question on YouTube.
Yeah, Bimbo sent it to me. I wanted us to take it after Dami.
After, okay then, that's
Yes,
fine.
Bimbo sent it to me. I've seen that. Yeah. So now that Dr. Dami is here, thank you so much, Hannah J, for that. That was profound. And I think anybody, that is having a bias for their home country will have a rethink because they say it in Yoruba. I'll try and translate it. Ilelabo. I don't know it. Let me just face what I know. Ilelabo, something, something. Okay, thank you. Please interpret it for the non-speaking Yoruba people on the call so that they are not wondering that we have sold them.
You come to rest at home now. When you've gone all day on the farm, you come back home to rest.
You come back home and rest. Honestly, awesome. No place like home. Thank you. So, Dr. Dami, over to your question. Do you want me to read it again or you got a full grasp of it?
I got it. How can women in academia build financial independence?
Yeah.
Right, all right. Thank you, Timo. Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. All right, so let's just dive right into it. Like we know, it's common. There are two types of income: the earned income and the passive income. Everyone knows earned income. You have gone to school, you graduated, then you get a job. This is not your business now. It's your job. Although we can also say earned income can come from business. Maybe you have grown to a point that you begin to pay yourself and all that. But the major earned income comes from a salary. And now we're talking about academia. We're not talking about banking or what other careers. But now for academia, a lot of people have begun to run away from academics. I will not kid you. I go to a class of 150, 200 students, and you ask, okay, how many people are interested, in coming back, maybe for their master's, their PhD, and then in turn lecture. And maybe you see less than 5 hands.
Wow.
And I begin to wonder, what is the future? And who are the people that are going to teach our own children? That's a question for another day. Well, in Nigeria here, everyone knows that in academics, you are not there to make money. You're not there to make success for yourself. It's about impacting. It's about impacting. Whatever thing that comes. I think it's the passion. I think the slogan from when we were young that a teacher's reward is in heaven. It's still valid now.
I'm sorry, please.
Although
we want our reward here.
Some teachers have been.
Why do I have to wait to get to heaven to get my own reward?
Violent now. The violence are taking it by force.
I'm telling you.
But I'm not getting to heaven. I'm not getting to heaven before I get my reward. Please, let me get some of it on earth. And so whatever is coming from your salary, especially here in Nigeria, is nothing to write home about. there's a slogan that we use in ASU, and we say, our take-home pay cannot even take us home.
Wow.
And because you cannot even negotiate with your employer, everything is fixed. Everything is
Wow.
fixed. No, but you can't, you are getting your appointment letter. In fact, you even struggle to get an appointment letter because out of maybe 100 candidates, maybe only 2 or 3 have picked, despite like the fact that you all have your PhDs and all that. And PhD is not like water in Nigeria. Almost everyone has one.
Wow.
It's becoming, it's not like it's easy to get the PhD, but life has become much easier compared to before, when people have to spend 8, 10 years, even 15 years getting a PhD. I got mine within 3 years. I know somebody
Wow.
who did 2 years, although they refused to give him because it was too early. But they said, okay, you need to do 1 more year. Okay, you pay for school fees 1 more year, and then you graduate with the 3rd year. So it has become a little bit easy because of the kind of, let me maybe say technology has really helped. Then we now have kinder people as maybe supervisors, as advisors, as people in charge that won't sit on your project or practice this pull him down syndrome. You know that that's the meaning of PhD, right? Pull him down or pull her down. So that's what it used to be called, but now it has become better. People are beginning to show a lot of kindness to people. And now people are coming on board the academia. And what attracted us when we were younger, it was when we got into it that we realized that it was all a scam. Although we didn't see our lecturers with big cars, designer clothes and all that, but just because the passion was there. I waited 10 years after graduation to get a lecturing job. I've been doing other things, but I was helping. I said, I want to do this because I want to impact. I want to teach. And I don't want to teach on a low level because I can't handle children. Mad one. So I can't even teach in Sunday school. So it's that bad. I'll prefer to, deal with people that are a little bit below me, and I can just easily mentor. And it's been it's been a good work for me over the years. I have a very good relationship with my students. And then now back to the issue of earned income. Like now, government has been owing us arrears for years.
Wow.
And I was even hearing a rumor recently that we should forget about them, that there's no money in the government and all that. And it's been sad. Everybody is becoming a shadow of themselves. When salary doesn't come in, a salary was just paid maybe 2 days ago for February. And the men in my department were just complaining. And I kept wondering, how are you coping? You that you have wife and children, you have school fees to pay, some of them have house rent and all that. And it's just been, but we're just doing this because we have to, and that I just keep encouraging. Like, can you do something else? Can you do something else? You can't bank on this. You have a 9 to 5, fine, but your work hours are a little bit flexible.
That's the advantage you have.
The people I was joking to them joking with them last week in the car when we're saying that, oh, our parents, they used to pray one prayer when we're young, that I don't know who interprets that. And up now, I think we're praying the same prayer now. It's like we're beginning to understand that kind of prayer. And it's been on for so long. So I told them, this thing is not changing. People have been singing the country is bad, Ilule, Ilule, 42 years ago, 30 years ago, 15 years ago. It's still valid now. So the government is not going to change. You are the one that will change.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned the earned income. The earned income is fixed. A little bit of maybe promotion arrears after you have been promoted. I know people who were promoted as professors 3 years ago that It's not showing on their pay slip as at now that they have become professors.
Wow.
And it's not showing in their bank account. So who are you going to hold culpable? Who are you going to hold responsible for that? So this is not, it's not sustainable. It's either it's too late or it's too small. So what are you going to do? Start to develop skills.
Yeah.
Develop transferable skills. Start to, do things that also, although it's in the line of, your work in maybe in the line of academia, or if you want to diversify totally into business, good. But there are some people that all their life is books. They can't do any other thing.
Yeah.
Now, why not channel all of this into something profitable?
Like
for
private
you?
coaching.
What kind of, investment? What kind of business can you do that can generate, revenue without you making so much effort? This is what you love to do.
Yeah.
Can you turn your passion into profit?
Yeah.
You can write.
Yeah.
There are people that I know people that write for others, maybe for other colleagues, not for students, so because those people, they are very funny. You can write for your colleagues and get paid. There are people there are some people that are lazy in writing. Like me now. I know myself. I'm a little bit lazy in writing. I'm looking for people that will write for me. Can you, or I'll write and I say, okay, please help me proofread this. Although they don't charge for it, but if I want to monetize, like I do a lot of copy editing and all that, I do it free. But if you want to do it as a business, you can actually, do that. If you have good writing skills, there are people that know how to write. Once they sit down and hold a pen, they can write from morning till night without getting tired. And they will not write nonsense. They'll write meaningful things. Consulting for people, consulting for companies, coaching, project management, all of this just to supplement your income. Now, how else can you get this financial independence? There are grants available for people in academia. In your field of study, can you go after, grants? There was one that opened up late last year. Because of the money involved, it was just, they said 95 million for the whole university. And I'm like, how many people do you want to share that with?
Wow.
But we just got encouraged and said, okay, let's just do it. And, spent day and night writing proposal and all that. It was just yesterday, we got a message that some people were awarded. And we just saw pictures. They didn't even announce.
Wow. Wow.
But fine, it was okay. I saw two of my friends in the picture and I was happy for them. I think they got maybe 2 or 3 million. No, 5. It was 5 million each to run a project of their choice, although it's going to be heavily monitored and all that. But it's a grant. It's not a loan. Fellowships are available. All of those things have become easy because now we have access to internet, we have access to technology, leveraging on relationships outside of your space, outside of your own university. There are awards that they give, maybe they just look at the awards for maybe best project of the year, stuff like that. Once you put yourself out there, you're able to, get these things to actually support your research. It's not for money to splurge, but it's for money. It's for you to run your research, and there's a possibility that after you run your research, you probably get some money in turn. Now, for example, I don't touch my students' money, but I realize that it's a profit for them because when they come on board, if I want to invest, I can say, okay, we're running a project like this year now. Last year, our final year project was about 6 million thereabout. No, it wasn't up to 6. We had to cut some things down because we wanted to use that grant budget to do it. But we started to talk to ourselves that what if we don't win the grant? Let's not bank on that. So we brought down the budget to about 2.5 million.
Can you just
please? Just rounding up. So we did all. I brought down the budget and I partnered with a colleague because I didn't have that kind of money, and I knew that the students too. I couldn't allow them to raise that kind of money, so I allowed my colleague to come on board. Bring your students too. We had 7 each, and there were 14 of them.
Wow.
put this, how much are you going to put down? And at that time, if I actually had the money, I would have put it in as an investment. By the time they sold off their birds, they made so much money that they
Wow.
returned, they shared the profits among themselves. I couldn't collect a dime from them because I didn't put in money. So that could have been a form of investment for me. So those are just, there are so many other things, freelance editing and all that, consulting services, that one can do as a person in academics. Monetize your talents, leveraging on your
That's the word.
strength. Like I said before, turn your passion into profit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's so profound, and I'm grateful that you went into details, of the various areas. And I love that you started by defining that there is the fixed love also that you streamlined it to the academia. So like you said, some people don't have business sense. They don't have business. It's not even in their way. Particularly people in academia, they don't have interest in business. But your money can work for you. So you can either invest that money in what you love to do, like you said. Like I said, you can be a coach, a private coach. Thank God for technology. You can write, recently my husband did a book on PhD made easy, because he loves to impart that knowledge. People have been having issues about doing their PhD. Okay, this is a book now that tells you step by step how to go through your PhD. You can do that, monetize it. So we cannot stay fixed and say, okay. And I think also, she's also speaking from the angle of a public servant in terms of they are working for the government. For those in private, it might not totally be the same scenario, but I don't even also think that the difference is that much in terms of, the payment. Yes, they might pay a little better because you're in private, institutions, but you can't stay at that monthly salary coming. You need to have a mindset where you are investing. So monetizing your talent is really, really, really important and crucial, and is doable even within the academic, system and world. Dolapo, quickly.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Babes Damilola. That was really profound. I just wanted to say that the peculiarities of what you talked about, that academia is not really a place where you're looking to make all the money. Yes, and I want to say that that is also not peculiar to Nigeria. It's the same thing all over the world. I'm sure that people can testify. You're not going to be earning the way, people that are in business or people that are working elsewhere, doing other things are earning, because it's mainly the point of academia is mainly to make impact, just like you have said before. It's impact at the end of the day. So there's a need for those in academia. If you know that is not going to, your daily income, your monthly income is not sustainable, it's very important for you to look at other money making ventures, other things you can actually do to ensure that you're able to live well. And that's what most academics, all over the world also do. And I also want to say that it's an opportunity, even for those in Nigeria, it's an opportunity for you to also consider, if you have a PhD now, it's very easy for you to get into the UK, very easy for you to get into the US or Canada, and get roles even in the academia that would be better for you in terms of earnings, better than what you are earning right now in Nigeria. That's not to say that we want brain drain in Nigeria. That's not to say that we want all academic, but I just want to say that, it's not totally gloom. It's not totally gloom and doom. There's a whole lot of opportunities being an academia in Nigeria as well, and all over the world. It's just recognizing the talents you have and, just like you said, monetizing it at the end of the day.
Yeah, profound. Thank you so much for that, Dolapo, and thank you for that, Dr. Dami. Profound. Quickly, a question from YouTube, and I think it's to you, Dolapo. If one has a savings of 600K, and I'm thinking the person is saying 600,000 naira, what likely investment do you suggest?
So 600,000 naira in Nigeria. I would say different investment strategies. It all depends on what is your financial goal. So when we are talking about investment, what you want to invest in at the end of the day depends on what your financial goal is. What are you looking to put in the 600K for? Is it for, is it meant to be a long-term investment goal, like for retirement? Do you have cash flows that are coming in the nearest future that you need the funds? And that is why at the end of the day, you must be seeking professional help, maybe from your bankers. They would ask all those questions because they need to know, how long are you willing to invest these funds for? How long are you willing to let it stay for? What is your risk tolerance? How much of risk? It's your ability to withstand risk. That is your risk tolerance. If you put those funds in, in a particular venture and you lose 10% of it, how likely are you to feel, losing 10% of your principal? And what are you looking to achieve? Do you just want to preserve the principal? If you're looking to preserve the principal, then you're not going to be putting it in some. I'm going to talk about all those different investment classes later. You're not going to be putting it in, stocks and shares, because anything can happen, because that's high risk. If anything happens to the business, all your money is gone as a shareholder, right? So those are all those things. And if you do not have all of this basic education, basic finance education, it's difficult. But then you have an opportunity of seeking professional advice, and they will be assessing your circumstances. How old are you? What cash flows are you expecting in the nearest? Do you need that 600,000 to survive in the next 2-3 years? Do you need to access it? So there are various investment options. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you, go and invest here. I need to understand your circumstances. And that is why you need to be talking to a financial advisor or your banker, who is going to guide you based on your peculiar circumstances and tell you, what kind of investments are best for you.
Brilliant, brilliant, profound. Thank you for that answer. Thank you so much. Running along quickly, I'll come to Hannah. Many women in the diaspora feel financial pressure from family back home. How can they support their loved ones while still securing their own financial future? Is it even possible?
It's very possible. I think the first thing Bizolako was saying was financial discipline. You need to set a clear financial goal for yourself. I know there's something called the black tax, which we know that when you come abroad, you have families who depend on you, you have parents sometimes, and so sometimes for women, it can be very overwhelming. But what you need to also know is that your family is your first. So if you've got children, right, of course, if you're not providing for your children, who is going to do it? So even though you want to support people back home, you want to also secure your own financial future, what you need to do is set a clear financial goal for yourself. So long-term security, what's that? You focus on building a strong financial foundation, while helping your loved ones. It's better to also let them know your limits. I think that's what's key. I remember almost 3 years ago before my mom passed, there was a plan that, come and renovate the house, the family house. I'm not the only siblings where, I'm 1 out of 5. So, but the first thing that came to my head is, I'm going to do this, but if I do this, who owns the house? Right. And, at the end of the day, my mom is passed now. So there is a conversation of our estate and everything she's left behind. And so that's what we need to be very careful. And did I help in my own little way? But I didn't go and put all the money I had at the time, because I was actually saving to buy a house. But I didn't let anybody know at the time, because I knew that if they know that I have the money, then somehow the money is going to go, because somebody knows you're financially, so we need to be very careful when we come into the abroad, because we know that even to earn the salary, to save takes a whole lot. You have to budget out of that money to say, this is what you're going to give, right, to family, right? So also create a budget for your giving. I think we said that more often than not, as you're having always put it down, this is what is going, you set this aside so that you don't jeopardize your own family and your own, and if anything is going to change, also communicate that with your family member. They are reasonable people. You can let them know, see, I'm financially burdened at the moment. I know people who have moved in the last 3-4 years, there is a pressure on them. Some people have debts in Nigeria. They've come in and they still have families who are still expecting them to. So sometimes you need to clearly say, I've come into the country for the last 6 months here. I've not even managed to do a job, sustain a job for the last 4. So you need to let them understand your situation, because there is an expectation they placed on you. And if you have not clearly let them know what your situation is like, you are going to be overwhelmed. And also what you need to do is invest in your financial education. As Babe Dolapo said, you've come into a new terrain. Earning in pounds is different from earning in
That's right.
So
that's right.
know that the system here is a credit system, so you need to be also careful not to go into debt, as you want to support people. So you need to put money aside, like I said, have savings, even if no matter how little. I think for me, the culture of saving and that discipline will help you when you start to earn a lot. When you start to earn little, no matter how much, maybe 20 pounds, 30 pounds, have a fixed account. If you're the type that you know that the money is you're gonna dip into it. I always put some money for long term into a fixed deposit where I'm not able to take it out. So immediately my salary comes in, I pay tithe, I quickly take out my savings so that I know that this is the only money that I have for the rest of the month, so I can live on that. So that's and then diversify your sources of income. So whatever you can do, like we said now, always think of outside the box. If I'm earning this, can I do private tutoring? Can I do driving lessons, which I do on the side? So there are a lot of things that even though you are, earning a salary, you can also provide services, so have that extra bit. Because most of us know if you live on paycheck to paycheck, you're going to do another 5-10 years in the abroad, in diaspora, and you will not have anything. So again, establish boundaries to avoid financial burnout. So, some of us, we just keep sending, somebody need this at home, somebody need this. At the end of the day, your salary comes, it goes. You have nothing to fall back on. And at the end of the day, the people you're giving, are they able to support you if you don't have anything? Encourage financial independence for your loved ones. So if you can support them to stand on their own, teach them how to fish, that burden would, I was speaking about, siblings that we have, how we can support them if they want to travel abroad to come and study as well. Let them not financially depend on you so that you don't get burnout in the process. And so many other stuff, but I'm conscious of.
That's profound. Thank you so much, Hannah J, honestly. And I totally agree. There's just that assumption sometimes when you tell people how much you earn, say, for example, or you earn 2,000 for a month, and they just calculate in their head times the amount in naira. And in your head, you're like, I've got bills. I pay rent in pounds. I don't pay rent in naira. I pay electricity bill in pounds. I pay water bills in pounds. I pay for whatever it is, childcare, child support. There are things, my bills are in pounds, they're not in naira. So that the fact that you're calculating, so for example, an average 3-bedroom flat in UK is about 1,500, 1,200, thereabout. So honestly, by the time you remove that from the so-called 2004, what's left? You get me? You're paying council tax, you're paying this, your bills are in pounds. So, and I love what you said about empowering people, not just dashing, not just giving. Sometimes it's about sitting down and saying, okay, if I send you 100K, what can you do with it? Rather than I'm sending you 5,000 today, 20,000 tomorrow, 10,000 tomorrow, can we sit down and look at something that is workable? You understand? And I love what you said about not being financially burnt out. It's so true. And I think that falls more on people who are men pleasers. I love also what you said about being honest with your financial situation. It's so important to let people know. There's no point forming big when you know that you are probably doing care jobs to help and sustain yourself. Yes, you are putting the money is coming in, but you are actually working yourself to get that money and you've got bills to pay. So that is so clear, so important that we need to let people understand that, okay, I just got here. Maybe this is just the first 2-3 years. I'm trying to settle in. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to build, certain things here. And for some people also, they've got families that they're caring for, you get. But that doesn't negate the fact that if you've got responsibilities, for example, you've got aged parents at home, it doesn't mean that. So it's about financial planning. And increases you increase what it is that you are capable of doing, and not necessarily that you put yourself under any form of pressure. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I'm going to come quickly to Dolapo. Can you bring Dami back in? Because after Dolapo, I'm going to ask Dami a question, but let me just quickly come to Dolapo.
Dami is
I'm
here.
going to tie this up. But to Dolapo, so I think we've answered this a bit, but I still want you to kind of touch on it. There's a common belief that investing is only for the wealthy. Can you break down the idea of starting small and growing an investment portfolio strategically? what practical steps, so we'll focus on the practicality of it now, can a woman earning an average salary take today? So I know we've talked about this whole idea of whether you're wealthy or not wealthy. We've talked about saving. So the practical step now that a woman can take, who earns an average salary? What's an average salary in Nigeria? Maybe 100K or 120, so what practical step can such person take today? And I think you touched about it, being able to save consistently for 6 months and a month.
Yep.
Please, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pimo, for that. And I would go back again to what I said earlier. And that is that the first step, the very first step before you start investing is you need to save. You need to make sure that you have enough savings. And having enough savings, starts with what your behavior is towards money over the years. What is your financial goal like? You understand? What is your relationship with money? How much have you been able to save over the years? And how much are you willing to save going forward? You understand? And we also, I know Babes and Ajay talked on the fact that you need to have like a budget. We overemphasize, the truth is that I can't imagine, living a life as a career lady without essentially having a budget. So having a budget is not, just deciding this is how much I want to spend or this is how much I want to spend daily. It is recognizing the fact that you must have positive financial cash flow consistently for you to be able to do any kind of investment that makes sense. So when we're talking about positive financial cash flow, we are talking about your income must be more than your expense. So you're working consistently to make sure that you are living below your income, which is very, very important. So having a budget helps you. Having a budget is having an income budget and having an expense budget. You have an idea of what comes to you monthly. I would say do that periodically. Have something maybe for the whole year to determine, oh, this is how much comes to me monthly, right, in terms of income. And then this is how much I spend. Categorize your expenses, talking about food, housing, clothing, transportation, the bills, utilities. Those are all categories of expenses. Cash flows that go out of your account every month. It will interest you to know that some people do not even have an idea of how much they spend monthly. And you cannot for the life of it start investment without having all of that written down somewhere, all of that recorded somewhere, and you tracking those expenses and income on a monthly basis. Sometimes you need to have maybe like an Excel spreadsheet just to make sure that you are able to focus on, see, these are the categories of expenses, these are the categories of spending that I actually do every month, and that helps you to track it. That helps you to minimize your spending in particular areas that monies are going into, and restrict and prioritize your spending. Restrict it to those ones that are actually very necessary at the end of the day. And with that, you're able to bring your expenses down to the barest minimum so that you're having positive cash flows month on month. So once you have a positive cash flow, you can also prioritize your investment by allocating a fixed percentage of your income each month to an investment. So you may want to like say a fixed amount. It just depends on how much you earn. If you're looking at a fixed percentage, it may be that your earnings vary month and month. But if you're looking at a fixed amount, maybe you earn the same thing, maybe like the 100,000, for instance, is what you earn every month. And then you're looking to put in a specific amount aside every month into your investment. That is one step to investment. As I said, before you start, restricting yourself to putting these funds out there to make money for you in certain investments, you must be able to build up your savings. And that is the way you build up your savings. Putting aside monies every month from your income will help you to build your savings. I recommend at least 25%. I don't know. It all depends on, this may not be workable in some certain situations, depending on how much you earn. But I recommend 25% of your income monthly. Babes, Damilola is laughing. I recommend at least 25% of your income monthly to go into savings and then eventually into different investments. And you can consider automated investment platforms. There are different platforms that even like online, I know that there are online money accounts in Nigeria now that offer you to be able to invest in different, investment venture. Just make sure that you look at the authenticity of those platforms and make sure that you're not losing money, to some scammers. Make sure that you are looking to professionals. They are registered, entities with the government and all of that, so that you don't lose your money. And these platforms help you to invest consistently without requiring a lot of time and effort. So you're not, going out there to read so much. You are able to put in little amounts consistently, into this investment. And so that's one strategy for you, to look into making those low, and it's low effort. Basically you're not really doing a lot. You're just making sure that a certain amount leaves from your income every month. But before you do that, you just need to have an understanding of what your expenses are, because if you do not have that positive cash flow, if your income is no more than your expenses, how do you want to invest? You must make sure that consistently you have positive, cash flows. Of course, some months may come where you have like some, extraordinary expenses that are way out of line, and you're not able to make this, commitment. You're not able to meet this investment commitment. It's understandable, but you must budget for that. You must make sure that every month something is going to your savings and eventually going to your investment at the end of the day. So I think that is the way. The key is just, like I said, is to start small and be consistent. Look at the fixed amounts each month, look at the fixed percentage each month, and remember that investing is actually a long-term game. It's not about getting rich quickly. It's about building wealth slowly and steadily at the end of the day until you get there. And before I conclude, I want to quickly talk about different investment types that you have. And so you have 4 major investment types, just like a basic, financial education for all of us. So whatever you're considering when you're talking to your financial advisor, it's from all of these 4 investment types that they will be talking to you. And like I said, it all depends on your peculiar situation, your circumstances, that will determine which of the investments or combination of investments that you're actually looking to. Number 1 investment type is money market securities. Money market securities typically have maturities of less than a year. They are, what we normally do in Nigeria. Your fixed deposits are the money market securities, your treasury bills, your banker's acceptances, as well as your commercial papers that are issued by companies. Now, these are securities that are issued by the government as well as companies, to raise funds quickly. They're usually less than a year. And what it means is that if you're looking to put in funds, for a short time horizon, just like your emergency funds I talked about, your savings book for 6 months should actually be in money market securities. You're not looking to put in it in stocks or bonds, because you're not going to get that in 1, 2 years, 3 years. So have that basic understanding. So when you're looking for investment, you're not saying, oh, just put money in fixed deposits, and you put monies in fixed deposit for 10 years. Does not make sense, because you're generally shortchanging yourself. Money market securities are low risk, which means that essentially what you get is lower returns in the market, right? So it means that you're not keeping the funds for a long period of time, and then you're not capitalizing on the returns from the market. The second is fixed income securities. Fixed income securities are much more medium term. When I say medium term, like 1 to 5 years. So they include your government bonds, different kinds of investments, which are usually sometimes corporation loans. And these are contractual obligations. When I say contractual obligations, they are for a fixed term, usually 1, 2 years, 3 years. So, and what you're paid at the end of the day are coupons. Coupons are like, interest, right? You're paid interest, and then you are guaranteed your principal at the end of the day. It's quite different from your fixed deposit, and it's higher. You actually get higher returns, because you're keeping monies for a long period of time. So if you're looking towards stability of your principal and regular income, then and for a long period of time, more than 1 year, you may want to consider fixed income securities. And you may want to be talking to your bankers about fixed income securities, such as the term bonds I talked about. And the next one is equities. Equities are just shares. They're just shares of, the companies that provide you partial ownership in that company. So when you buy stocks or stocks of companies, you are having like a partial ownership of the company. So you have a right to the net assets or the profits of the company on a regular basis. So what you are paid is dividend, right? And you're able to keep your funds for a long period of time. So besides dividends, at the end of the day, you're also able to sell off, the shares. And when your capital your principal appreciates. You're able to sell off the shares and, make some money. But the truth is that it's higher risk than money market securities or fixed income securities, which means that if you do not have enough knowledge about the company you're investing in, and anything happens to that company, you are likely to even lose your principal at the end of the day. So, and that's why I said investment needs to be you need to take informed risk before making investments. You need to have a very good solid foundation of whatever you're investing in. And lastly, you have alternative investments. Those are like the real estate investment trusts, the derivatives, and all of that. The ETFs that you hear. I'm sure that a lot of people in the diaspora talk about exchange traded funds, ETFs, and all of that you can take advantage of. Now, those are higher risk, and you need to ensure that you have enough knowledge of that investment before you actually go ahead to invest. So that's just a general explanation of the investment classes you have. And you also have the mutual funds. Mutual funds can combine any one of these investments. And the mutual funds are typically sold by the financial advisor. They would look into your peculiarities. Like as I said before, your age is very important, how much you're willing to invest, your risk tolerance. Your risk tolerance is your ability to withstand risk, right? And then they also look into your risk capacity, like how much do you actually have to invest, right? And all of that together will determine, the kind of mutual funds they will be selling to you. So I would say in all, it's important that you have this financial education, but it's also important that you're seeking the right professional help before putting your monies anywhere. Thank you.
Wow, profound. Profound. And it would be nice if probably you could do some sort of highlight on these four different things, and then we can share with the leadership and they can share on the different platforms. It would just be nice to know, the different areas or the different aspects of investment. And also, I think I noticed that the higher the investment, the more the risk. So if you want to go higher, you must be ready to take higher risk. And really, like we've established from the beginning, there's really no growth without risk. So you just have to brace yourself. Well, at least I love the fact that you can start from where you are. You can start with something. There's a question here that says, how is it possible to live below your income when income is low? Especially
So
because of hiking price of food and hike everywhere. And the person said, for example, if your salary is as low as 30K, you know, so I don't know if the Lapo wants to talk on that, because the truth is this is actually some people's reality. The
yeah,
income is really low. So
yeah,
when we talk about investment, it just seems like we're speaking over their head. So what would
absolutely.
you advise, and what practical thing, no matter how,
Yeah. So what separates the wealthy, from the others that struggle financially are basic financial habits. One of them is one that we have overemphasized, and that is the fact that you have to live below your income. That is, you have to constantly reduce your expenses, right? But when it comes to a stage where even your income, or what you call your income today, cannot even meet your expenses, then you need to look at the second one. And the second habit is that you need to cultivate gaining multiple streams of income.
yeah,
You must diversify your income. Diversifying your income means that you are not depending on only that salary.
mm,
Look at your skills, your talents. What can your talents bring on board
yeah,
that will earn you additional income? And while
yeah,
you're doing that, you may need to improve on your skills. Improvement on your skills will not also, that sometimes you can actually do that, with very little amounts, get access to certifications or information. But the truth is, what you have right now is actually a tool to where you are going to go in the
yeah,
future.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
cannot look down on what you have right now. You
yeah,
have a salary, you have income. Some people don't even have that at all. Some people are
mm,
depending on other people, to live, for their living
mm,
expenses. So whatever you have right now, and that's why we said, no matter how little it is, you can start somewhere. If you need to
mm,
get a skill, save towards getting that skill. Even if it is 1,000 naira, you have to save every month. Have a goal, have a financial goal of where you are going to. And that helps you to be able to stay focused, put
yeah,
in, that amount that will help you to get that skill, get the experience, get the information. Sometimes information is actually free. A lot of us spend so much
yeah,
time on social
yeah,
media doing other things other than getting that information that will take us to the next level. There are several YouTube YouTube videos out there, besides, of course, constant attention to details. You can always separate, the genuine ones from the scams. There are several YouTube videos out there teaching you basic things, how to do this, how to do that. I was talking to my daughter the other day that I just want to learn another skill, maybe like an handwork. I want to start, knitting. I know I used to knit a lot, when I was young, but I lost that skill because I was not consistent. So, and getting that skill is so easy. You can just get onto YouTube, just get the materials, and all you need to do is just follow them as they teach you how to get get knitting done. So there's several skills out there. It's just for you to recognize what do you want to do and get multiple sources of income. But then what I realized in Nigeria is that people actually do not have an idea of how much they make. A lot of people tell you they don't make money, but how do they survive? They've not actually sit down to look at, because you're getting money from different sources. All this daily 2K, please give me 10K, please give me 50K. People getting money from different things. You quickly do a job and money comes into your hand, and before you know it, you blow it all. Maybe this month, maybe 1 month, you usually get 100,000, and then 1 month you get like 500,000, and you realize that 500,000 does not even make you rich. And the reason is because you've not developed the right relationship with money. If you've developed the right relationship with money, when you have extra income, you're going to have extra savings, not extra expenses, not immediately increasing your lifestyle, increasing your, immediately upgrading when you are not there yet. You're already buying, things you're not supposed to buy when you don't even have any savings. But you're already, behaving like somebody, you're seeing those people, other people on social media that are living that life, and you already want to live that life just because you have the money in your account. That is not the way to live. The way to live is to have an understanding. There was, before I conclude quickly, I just want to quickly talk about something. There was a life-changing moment I had when I started working, and I thank God because it was early enough for me. It was 2 years into working, with a bank. And then as newbies, as executive trainees, they call us, you earn, the minimum income in the bank at that time. But we had this training, of all middle level officers at that time. Some people had worked for 3-4 years. Some of us had just worked for about 2 years. Then I think for me, about 18 months. And the training, the facilitator came into the room. If I can remember clearly, I can't remember his name now, but he's one of the, major motivational speakers today. Yeah, I remember his name now, Jimmy Tewe. So he came into the room, and then he asked all of us to write down how much we have earned since we started working. Like, write down how much you've earned, do a calculation of how much you've earned since you started working. So for those of us that have earned, worked like 18 months, it was easy. It was just multiplying your monthly salary by the 18 months, whatever coming to your account. And of course, some people had worked in different places, 3-4 years, they were doing all of that. And then after doing that, he said, okay, put your pens down. If you've calculated it, you know the figure, fine. So now that is your lifetime earnings, right? Till date. That is your lifetime, all your life. That is how much you've earned till date is called your lifetime earnings. Now sit down and also do a calculation of all your total assets today. How much do you have in your bank account in terms of cash? How much do you have in savings? How much do you have in investments? How much do you have in terms of fixed assets? So fixed asset, I mean tangible goods that can be converted to cash, that can be sold, like furniture, your house, your car, whatever you own, not owned by somebody else, that can be converted to cash. Those are assets. How much do you have? Can you do a calculation of all that today? Do a calculation of that. We did that. And then he said, subtract what you are owing other people, what you are owing the bank, your debts, your liabilities from that amount. And that is your net worth. Now compare that net worth with your lifetime earnings. My God, guys were crying because it was crazy. Like, you cannot believe that you have earned so much, but how much of that so much that you have earned have you been able to retain today? And that is, what tells you what your relationship with money has been over the years. So it takes a lot of discipline. It takes you consciously deciding, to go on the path of wealth by doing those things that wealthy people are doing. And what are wealthy people doing? Trust me, wealthy people live below their income. If they want to live as per what they earn, you cannot even imagine it. They live there. If they are going to be spending any amount, they are spending that amount far below what income, whatever they are making today. And so you need to live like that. Whatever level you are at any point in time, do not live, don't be intimidated. Don't they call it living with the Joneses, or what they call like the Joneses or what they call it. Avoid all of those social media paraphernalia. Make sure that you're investing into your future at the end of the day, right? Because we all have different paths in life, and live below your income. Don't allow pressure, unnecessary pressure. Don't be pressured by whatever is going on around you. And so that's where I would like to stop by saying, make sure you are cultivating multiple streams of income, and make sure you are actively living below your expenses, and understand what exactly you are earning. Because people say they earn, some people do say they earn 30,000, but how have you survived in the last 1 year? Is it 30,000 that you have been surviving on? I don't think that is the truth in Nigeria. A lot of people have multiple streams of income, but because it's not salary, they do not consider this as an additional source of income, and they do not budget on it, and that's the problem.
Right. Wow. Profound. Hitting the nail on the head. Thank you so much, Dolapo, for that. I mean, it couldn't have been said better. You actually did answer the question as it should. Hannah J, we are tying this up now. Hannah J,
just
go ahead.
Very
go ahead,
quick.
please.
Just wanted to say thank you, Babes Olapo. And I think coming back to the diaspora as well, thank you for covering, situation of economic situation in Nigeria and how people are struggling with the minimum salary as well. I think coming back to the UK is, I want to talk about the trend of competition. I think for the last 3-4 years, people have come into the UK or US, and there's this pressure people put themselves under, where people are saying, I bought my first house in the first 2 years. I bought my first house in the last 2 years. I just wanted to address that and say, please and please, people don't put, some people, they didn't buy their first house until the first 10 years. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in that.
Wrong with that.
So please, when we look at social media and we're seeing people unnecessarily putting this pressure on people, I'm like, do you know what that means? Like, do you know how much savings you've got to do? And your family circumstances are different from other people. So please don't let other people put you under undue pressure, where you feel like everybody's now defining what you should be doing per time, per season in your life. And the social media is telling us you've got to have bought your house the first 2 years you land in the UK or you land in the US. So I just want
there are master classes on that, Hannah J. There are master classes on that. How to buy your house in the first 1 year. First 6 months of being in the UK. There are master classes on that. Dolapo, please, can you bring Dami on the screen? I'll have a question for her, and then we can tie this up. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take all the questions because of time, but that angle, Hannah J, is very profound. We really need to live within our means, and we need to understand our circumstance and the phases in life we're at. For example, I just started earning in pounds roughly about 3 years ago. You, Hannah J, have been in UK for over 15 years thereabout. I honestly would not now start comparing myself with you to say, oh, Hannah J is earning this, or Hannah J has this amount of money, or Hannah J has access to certain things, and I too must have access to that. I tell people it's really amazing. The first 1 year of our living in the UK, we didn't have a car, even though we owned cars in Nigeria. And why didn't we? Because we didn't see it as a need at that time. We could walk to everywhere we needed to go to, and if it was far, we could take an Uber, or at that time, you could take a bus. So I wouldn't come here and say, oh, I was living in this kind of house in Nigeria. I had this kind of car I was driving a Benz. So I cannot come here and say, no, I must buy that here. No, we gave ourselves time, understood the environment, understood the terrain, knew how to navigate our way, got settled in as a family before we started considering those kind of things. So I think it's just really important that people, I don't think at this age, if you are 40 and above, 35 and above, you are still looking at social media to be telling you what to do with your life, to be looking at somebody else's life and be using it to determine your own life. At 40, come on, grow up. Come on, grow up. Life is a lot more than that, honestly. When people are using social media or internet to determine their future in terms of how to invest, how to grow their businesses, how to be more relevant in life, please, let's not. In fact, I don't think we should be having those conversations around, seeing someone on social media, you're now having palpitations. Grow up, please. The Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Amen. Dr. Jami, one question for you, and then we can tie this all up. We have spent a wonderful time here today, and it's really been I'm happy that it's on YouTube. We're going to share the link after so that we can have this resource. We can always come back to it because, I mean, gems were shared here this evening, and I really feel so blessed. Babes, Dami, there's a question, and I want to throw it to you because I think it generated from the things that you said. The person said, suppose you have a few talents, how do you monetize them all without looking like you aren't consistent with one? So, you were talking about how you can go into freelance writing, you can go into private coaching, you can say how, if you have several talents, that you can, explore, how do you go about this monetizing them? And it doesn't look like, you're not consistent with one. Or do you just take one and be consistent with it? Is it possible to have various talents and explore all talents? So I'd like you to touch on that. And if there's any, addition from the other speakers, we'll take that and then we'll tie this up.
Okay. All right. I didn't get the last.
Did you get the question? If you have several talents and you want to monetize it, how would you do that without looking like you're not consistent with one? Or is it okay to actually have several talents and monetize all? Or do you just face one and leave the rest?
Or you're just what's it called, dabbling into different things, jack of all trades, master of none. You can be master of all. Life has become, as simplified as possible. It's simple. There are ways. If we're seeking to, I don't know if the person is talking or still in the line of academics or generally.
I think it's general, even though I think that question came from when you were talking about, monetizing your talent, but it doesn't have to be streamlined to academic alone.
For academics, okay. Well, I want to believe that information now is power, and mostly what you would do, or what you would put out there for people to actually for people to maybe pay for or pay attention to from your own field of expertise. Your experience, you can leverage on your experiences and the information that you have. There's something I always say: the more you know, the more you can grow. Because when you have, and then you also, the more you can grow your finances. Because with the information or the knowledge or the experience that you have, you can actually transmit that or transform that into making funds for yourself, creating information. My sister, my younger sister, she's a serial entrepreneur. She's an accountant, a chartered accountant, about to become a fellow. I don't know how the kind of businesses that she hasn't done. And I don't know if anybody has stepped out on serious. I did it too, or I've done it over, I've done things. And there are times and seasons actually for me that I feel that you will do some things and you get to a level and you feel that this thing is not working for me again, or you go back to God and say, oh, should I go on with this? And you get the instruction to either stop or go on, or maybe classify or recalibrate. I'm not sure if I'm correct with that English, but just to like repackage what you have been doing in the past. I've sold chicken during COVID. That was my main source of income. We were on strike for like 6-7 months, and they didn't pay. My husband is a minister. No church was calling. Who even went to church during COVID? So it was then we started that. That's when actually we were doing consultancy before staff resourcing, but nobody was even going to the farm. So we had to come up with something else. We went to go and say, what do we do? It was becoming like, how do we even feed with a child? So we just came up with the idea, okay, let's start now. We're talking about essential, food was part of essential material that could be, taken around. So we just took the permission and that paper that the government issued, and then we're just supplying chickens to households. We expanded it to goat meat, cow meat, pork, fish, and all that. And then after COVID, the thing started to die down. The demand started to come down because people started going to the markets. If I had continued in the same way that I started, I would have lost money because it no longer served its purpose. So that's just one, just like an isolated incident. I know people who have created courses, like my sister now, she creates courses on finance, business, and other things. And it doesn't stop her work or whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
She has sold perfumes. I've helped her to sell perfumes. And when it was no longer working, I stopped and moved on to something else. But the profits, the experience I gained at that time, money cannot buy it. And nobody can take it away from me. And I can actually translate what I have gotten from that experience into another field or into another industry or into another enterprise. I moved on to creating spices because I started to hate the taste and the smell of bouillon cubes in my food. And then because I began to hear and research that, oh, this thing is bad for your health and all that. And I started to do it for myself. I started to make natural spices for myself. And then I said, why not take this out there? Why am I the only one enjoying it? I started by giving it out to people. And then I started to monetize it. And now it has become a full brand that I now, produce, package, and sell. I'm looking to expand it by the grace of God because it's a big deal for me. So, and if something else comes up tomorrow, I'm working on writing an ebook. I've started this since last year, but I stopped because of my I had so many other commitments. If I finish that ebook, I'm going to launch it. I'm going to start making money from it. That's selling the information that that you have, and that it can translate me into something else. So you don't have to cage yourself or withhold yourself or hold yourself back because of what you think that people will think about you. It's your life. It's your finances. At the end of the day, you are the one who is going to enjoy the money and also it will be a blessing to other people. Nobody will come and say, oh, if Baba Obasanjo at 88 is still thriving, doing business, that man is like the #1 business coach I know. And it was part of people that told me, if something is not working, leave it and go on to the next thing. Nobody will hold you. Farm wasn't where you stepped back and delved into something else. Nobody will hold you or say, oh, why are you doing this? It's your life. It's your experience. And the experience that you have, like I said, no one can take it away from you. And you can actually translate from one, in one enterprise into another using that same. There are people that have turned their knowledge. These people that have broadcast channels now on YouTube and all that. A lot of people are just doing it effortlessly. And what they're all doing is what they have learned over the years, what they have built over the years. People are having blogs, who are, creating patents, creating softwares and all that. We're unstoppable. We can do this and so much more. And like I said before, there are so many other things that, can be done. Time will not permit. People that have started to speak at places where they are being paid for it. Because of the kind, you cannot give what you don't have. So once you have that, the first thing I started with was develop skills, transferable skills. When you have the skills, it's easy for you to be able to navigate any industry that you are in, any industry you find yourself, and you're able to, turn that thing that is in your hand into cash, into money. So don't be afraid, don't be scared, don't think about, especially what people would say, people will be fine. Everybody has an opinion. People will be fine. You do you, focus on yourself. The sky is just a starting point, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Profound. Thank you so much, Dr. Dami. I mean, I wish we had all the time to continue this conversation. I know there's a whole lot more that we would still love to share. I know, and possibly maybe we would put this around Value Me for this year so that we can have that, or maybe atmosphere tailor it around it, because there's still a whole lot more to talk about, truly. I love what you said, Dr. Dami, about you can actually monetize all your talents. And I think one key thing that you said is information, understanding that talent, understanding the environment you found yourself in, and understanding if it is a need. So, being able to know the people that you are sent to, in using that language in terms of, is this marketable? Is this what, and then having knowledge of that thing is so key, so that you don't go shortchanging yourself in an area that you have no skill or no knowledge about. So it's very important that you're knowledgeable about what you want to get yourself into, and upskill, like you said. So someone wants to go into this. What is the trending thing about this area now? What skill do I need to know, or to, so many things have gone digital. You've learned something manually before. Now it's digital. Get the upgraded skill about it, and then push it out there. And I love that if it's not working, or if it's for a season and you see that this season is over, move on to the next thing, you get. And I really think it's a blessing when you actually have capacity for a lot of things. And I'm going to tie that up before I now come. You guys can now give your final thoughts in like 1 minute each. Someone asked the question, and I'm just going to say this to tie it, and the question was directed to me, that how do you balance trusting God for our needs, finance, and making plans for the future? I'm going to say that when it comes to the issue of financial prosperity, it's a principle with God. And that's why you see that people who operate that principle, whether they are under God or not, they prosper. So when it comes to the issue of money, multiplication of money is not wishful thinking. Multiplication of money, you don't sit down and pray and fast and not do anything and just expect that the money will multiply in the account. No, God is not a magician. He's a miracle worker. God will not turn stones to bread. He would rather take your 2 loaves and 2 fishes and multiply it and feed the thousands. The reason for the multiplication of the bread was not to become famous and to let the whole world know I can multiply bread. It was to meet a need. It was to meet a need. There were people hungry. There were people in need. So if you are able to understand those dynamics within the Christian knowledge of, the understanding around money, and when it comes to Christianity, I often say jokingly that, that was one of the things that Judas deprived us of, because I feel that there should have been a book of Judas amongst the gospel, because he was the money collector, the money keeper, the finance manager of the resources Jesus had and his disciples. And he would have told us, if his heart was clean, how Jesus manages resources. It's amazing. Of course, we have tips here and there in the scripture. Another thing I want to say is the Bible talks about, Jesus talks about the talent. And he said he gave each according to their several abilities. And I love, Dolapo has touched on that. In fact, all the speakers have touched on that. He will give you what you have capacity for. And I think that's what Dolapo was saying when that person said, if I'm earning below, he said, then increase your ability to earn more. Because when you can earn more, then you commit more into your hands. You can't be like that widow that said, I don't have anything. I only have a jar of oil. Jar of oil is something. Start from there. And with that jar of oil, she deployed her other skill, which was relationship management, which was the major thing. If she did not have good relationship management with her neighbors, she wouldn't get barrels to borrow. Because who is that person that is not using their own jar or their own barrel? But he said, go. And that's the principle he was trying to teach her there. That you can't sit down and say, I've only got this jar of oil. That's all I have. No, you've got other things that can bring money to you. Oh, I only earned 30K, like Dolapo was saying. No, you've got other things that bring in money for you during the month. So he said, go and speak to your neighbors and borrow not a few. And your ability to borrow a lot determines or is dependent on your integrity skills. Because if people can borrow you things, then that means that you've got good integrity. If you've not got good integrity, they won't borrow you. Or very few people, because of relationship, will borrow you. But when your integrity is good, they will borrow you. So the whole financial freedom of that woman lied in her hands. It wasn't in the hand of the prophet. The prophet didn't blow air on her. The prophet didn't pour anointing oil on her head. The prophet didn't say, collect the blow and go and the money will multiply. No, it was what she had that he gave her financial principles on how to multiply it. So according to your several ability, even the one that got one God expected that person to do something with it. That's your ability to do something with it. You don't go and bury it and be saying that you are this, you are that. So when you read through scriptures and you understand multiplication comes through giving. Multiplication comes, when I say giving, I mean investment. I mean, putting it to work, not eating it. He says he gives bread to the eater, but he gives seed to the sower. If you are an eater, you will keep eating your seed. But if you are a sower, God will continue to channel seed your direction because he knows you will sow it and it will multiply. So it's a principle with God. Our financial prosperity, God desires that we prosper. God desires that we prosper, but we prosper with knowledge and we prosper within the confines of his will for our lives and his own grand agenda. And so that is what I'm going to say to that person, that when things are not adding up financially, go back to God. There might be something you're not doing right. There might be a skill you're not acquiring. There might be a financial literacy thing that you don't have or you don't know. So it always comes back to you to sit down and ask yourself, what can I do more? What can I do better? What knowledge do I need? And one thing is, God is always looking for people to invest money into. If you are doing what is within God's agenda, God will sponsor it. He will send money your way because he knows that it's not about you earning that money for yourself, but you're looking about expanding God's purpose and God's will, on the surface of the earth. So quickly to Hannah J, one word, in 1 minute, your summary and what you like to say before we tie this up.
I think, since the theme is from the International Women's Day, we're talking about accelerate. What I'll say is just keep growing and don't stand still. Don't say this is it. There's never, I think we're all going to start evolving and we'll keep evolving over time. Like I said, if anything happens, always ask yourself, am I able to survive anywhere, whether it's here, whether it's another country. But the thing is, just make sure you continually grow, give ourselves to growth. What does growth means is getting out of your comfort zone. So every year, assess yourself, review, okay, am I doing things differently? Is there anything I can change? Is there anything I can add to what I already have? So, and as you do that, I'm sure God also sees your effort, sees your work, and it will bless you, in that process. That's all I'd like to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. Accelerate action. You cannot stay at that place and say that you've done it. Just keep going, put yourself out there and do the things that you need to do. Thank you so much, Hannah J. Over to you, Dolapo.
Thank you so much, Pimo. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I want to leave us with a word of empowerment, and that is the fact that as women, we actually have the control. We have the power to actually take control of our financial lives. All we need to do is to ensure that we're educating ourselves, we're seeking for knowledge, we're seeking for professional advice, supporting each other, joining women support group, just like the Babes Redefined, how we empower others, make sure that you're connecting with other women. You're adopting financial habits, very, very important. Adopt healthy financial habits. Make up your mind to build budgets and work with your budget. Make up your mind to consistently track your expenses and live below your means. And then we can build wealth. We can achieve that financial independence we want, and we can also create the lives that we deserve. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dolapo. I mean, it's just been a wealth of knowledge from all of you here today. Really been amazing. And I really hope that babes, would settle down and listen to these things. And, and for some of the people watching online, I think the speakers wouldn't mind if you slide into their inbox for maybe one-to-one questions, but when it gets into consultation and they ask you to pay, don't come and say, well, we are babes now. They will give you free consultation for 1 or 2 sessions. By the time you are now becoming, you're asking for plenty things because it's also quality of their time, but even if at all you slide into their inbox, let it be, purposeful questions, let it be questions that will show that you are serious about making, a definite change in your life. Dr. Dami, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pimo. I just wanted to say, don't be alone. Don't stand alone. You can't do it alone. Build strategic partnerships. Collaborate. Don't compete. You can either join a community or build one if you don't have one.
Yeah.
If the community you want does not exist, build your own.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to, you know, network now. Network,
Yeah.
you know, leverage your like you said, don't just spend time on social media looking at what people are wearing or what they are doing and all of that. There are social media
Which
platforms that
marriages
you
are
can actually
working, which marriage is breaking.
which marriage is crashing. That's none of your business. Focus on building your own wealth. There are
Right.
places you can, you know, showcase your product, showcase your research, network with
Yeah.
people, engage
Yeah.
with peers, and build your
Yeah.
personal brand. They are all
Brilliant.
over. They are all around us. All around
Yeah.
us. All around us.
Brilliant.
Don't stand
Thank
it.
you so much. I mean, I can't thank you all enough. You have contributed immensely to this, you know, conversation this evening. I mean, I feel so proud that I've got lots of, you know, knowledgeable babes around me. See me feeling, you know, proud and all of that. I honestly do feel proud of each and every one of you. Apologies, Trish was meant to be on this call as well as the fourth speaker, but she's been a bit under the weather. We're praying for quick recovery for her in Jesus' name. And hopefully she'll be able to join us on other conversations, you know, in the near future. Dolapo, I don't know if you have a sniping tool or if you can screen grab. I want us all to do the accelerate action, whatever it is. You're supposed to you know, something like that. Yeah. So I don't know if Dolapo can screen grab so that we have it. And if you are watching in your home, wherever it is, do that as well. Accelerate action. That's it. Yeah, 2025 International Women's Day. We're making progress. We're taking deliberate actions, you know, in making financial decisions and disciplines and commitment. We're committing to growth in our career, you know, in making decisions that would bring us into that future that we desire in Jesus' name. So I say once again to each and every one of you, happy International Women's Day. Thank you for spending your 2 hours plus with us this evening. I hope it's been worth your time. And thank you to our amazing guests. Thank you so much for being, you know, generous with your time with us this evening. I look forward to more conversations with you guys in the near future. And yes, enjoy the rest of your evening. And if it's afternoon in your end, enjoy your afternoon. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful month of March and enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.